So I watched that Actors on Actors with Pete Davidson.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see it?
I didn't see it. I saw some things about it, but I didn't watch it.
It was really cool because he was just like, it's Pete Davidson and Glenn Close, in case you didn't know. He was just really kind of smitten with her.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like, I love how it's not like, it wasn't like romantic
He's
or
not like
sexual.
in love with her.
Yeah, no, he was, you could just tell that he was so completely charmed.
Yeah.
And she, like, kind of the same.
That's the thing that I saw, is that she was like, she admitted that she was weirdly nervous to talk to him because he's so cool. Well, and I was like, that's adorable.
He's dated Ariana Grande,
well,
and
sure,
because he was talking about how
and Kate
weird,
Beckinsale.
He was talking about how he does stuff for goofs, like he just thinks it's fun, and he was like, he didn't realize that all of that dumb shit he was wearing in paparazzi photos with Ariana Grande was going to be attached to him for the rest of his life. That when you Google it, that like his kids will see that, and he was like, "Oh,
I'm gonna go on a quick tangent." Did I ever tell you? I was listening to one of Dax Shepard's podcasts, and he was interviewing Kate Hudson, and they like briefly dated for a while in the early 2000s, and he was doing,
that sounds right. She likes scoundrels.
Well, it was just like super fun, and it was like kind of casual, and he was doing similar things where they were like going to, you remember that restaurant Nobu that everybody was going to for like a really long time? They were like going to Nobu, and he was like, it would be hilarious if I just like came with you without a shirt. And there's paparazzi photos of them, and he's not wearing a shirt, and you can see them both. Like, she's trying to cover her face, but they both are smiling so big, it's hysterical. I do love stuff like that, the like paparazzi shit.
Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
This is So I'm Watching This Show, your twice weekly pop culture podcast where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. And as always, this is a spoiler show, so you have been warned. On today's episode, we are going to talk for the second time. we
tried this yesterday.
This is a re-record.
We had some technical difficulties.
We're going to talk about Romy and Michele's high school reunion. I cut loose, footloose.
God. From this point on, we are sophisticated, successful career women.
Which one of these guys will I have sex with at the reunion?
Touchstone Pictures presents...
Ow! That hurt, but it looked really good.
Romy and Michele's high school reunion.
And what are you picking on us for, anyway? We are not the ones who got fat.
We're pregnant, you half-wit.
Well, I hope your babies all look like monkeys.
Everybody good.
Love that they don't know the words. They like don't know any words.
What is this movie for you? Do you have a history with it?
Not like a very specific history. I saw it. I mean, what did we decide? We were like 12 when this came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw it a couple years after, I must have. And then, I don't know, it just became one of those things that we watched kind of all the time.
So you saw it before we were friends? Or is it one of the ones that we watched after school?
I honestly feel like I might have watched it with my aunt and my cousin.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Because when I would go home to my family in Wisconsin, we would watch all kinds of movies. It's how I saw so many movies that I was just too young for, like Clueless and stuff like that. So I think it was one of those, but then I think it was one of the things we bonded about, that we both loved it.
So I famously, for a very long period of time, told people that this was my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah.
And just organic. I think when I went to film school, I kind of cycled it out. And it had been a while, a drought, since I had seen this movie. Yeah. And like usual, part of me was a little bit nervous to revisit it because I was like, is this going to hold up? Is this going to be...
Yeah, I wasn't nervous.
And you always tell me that I should trust myself more.
Yeah. I think especially with things like this, things that are sort of... I mean, this is more culty than it is like a big deal. This movie is it's not as universal as we really feel like it is. And it's these type of things where it's like we responded to something very specific about it. And it's not like it's not like a Farrelly Brothers comedy where it's like very dated and it's very of the moment and it's kind of gross. And it's like, this is like a very...
Oh, I thought you were talking about this. I was like...
No.
I disagree.
This is different.
Yeah.
This is like a smarter comedy. And so it's the type of thing that I'm never worried about movies like this because I also can play back all the moments in my head. And it's like, there's nothing about this movie that I recall being cringy.
I've said this before, but it's the kind of thing where it's like the not quite trusting myself, especially from this period of time, because it's actually threefold. Number one, I was young. Number two, I was oftentimes hanging out with the neighborhood boys, trying to bond with them.
Sure.
And that led to me indulging in some of the baser instincts, the South Parks and all that.
Yeah.
That's its own conversation. But the third was
funny. I watched South Park with my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like, it's so weird.
But I loved, like, when I was a teenager, I loved Mad TV. I thought it was so funny. And while there are gems.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We can pull your favorite.
You wouldn't have believed me.
In a general sense, it's pretty rough to go back and revisit.
Yeah.
So I saw this movie. I think I was 12, and it's there's a handful of movies that I say are the first R-rated movie that I saw, and it's because I don't quite remember how the series of events unfolded.
Sure.
Because I think I saw Terminator, but it was like
that's like a different
family,
and that's a different kind of R-rated movie too, or it's like that's a whole separate thing.
But this is the first R-rated movie that we rented with the express purpose of me watching, and it's like my mom rented it. I don't remember why, but I really globbed onto this trailer, and I don't even
I can tell you exactly why. It's really bright and colorful. There's two pretty blonde ladies, and the music is exceptional.
Well, the only part that I really remember from the trailer is Lisa Kudrow in the car doing the, which one of these guys will I have sex with at the reunion?
Oh, Casey Deegan.
We'll touch on that.
Yeah.
The vast mythos
of this movie. Yeah, 100%.
It really captures that high school experience.
It does.
Like that vibe.
It really does.
But it's something about it I really think, because this is pre-Friends for me, so I didn't even really know who Lisa Kudrow was.
Yeah, I don't think I knew who either of them were.
But, well, okay, especially for 12-year-old me in 1997, the height of glamour.
Of course.
The height of fashion.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of the height of fashion in the 90s. It kind of like quirky Venice Beach fashion, 100%.
It's the thing that we've determined is pretty much just a me thing. It's not universal. But especially when I was younger, especially with things that were particularly colorful or bold, I had this impulse to want to eat them.
Oh, I want to eat a lot of their purses.
Yeah.
And the shoes, weirdly.
Yeah. About Cinderella, the first dress that she wears, the pink one.
Yeah. It's
and
like
you were
a cake.
It looks like a cake.
Yeah.
And I just kind of have this weird in the back of my mind, everything that they wear, I want to eat it.
Okay, so I will tell you.
It looks like candy.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, there is an outfit that Mira Sorvino wears in this movie where it's like a black mini skirt, and then it's like a shirt with a 3 of clubs on it, and then she's wearing red dice earrings. Glamour. I just like want the whole outfit. I want it all. It's so good. And that's the thing where it's like that stuff cycling back around, because like half the clothes in this movie, I was like, oh, I'd wear that. I'd wear that right now. Right now.
I almost brought her cherries out here.
Oh, funny.
Because Lisa Kudrow wears the cherries.
Cherries, yeah.
But then I realized how hard it is to actually eat cherries with pits.
Yeah, and I'm wearing a lot of lipstick that I don't want all over my hands.
So my mom rented it. And I remember she watched it first, so I didn't know about this. And then she kind of surprised me with it. And it was this thing where the two of us watched it together in my room, because it was right around the time that they let me have a TV in my room. It wasn't connected to the cable, but I could watch videos and stuff. And it's weirdly a very, like, sentimental memory, especially when you consider that it's kind of it's not really a sex comedy.
But it's a little raunchy a couple times.
It's a little risque. And I remember when she told me I could watch it, that's what she said, is she was like, it's basically language and then some sex jokes. And so she was like, as long as you don't go walking around saying these words, you can watch it. It's fine.
Sure.
And rewatching it now, I was like, if anything, I actually feel like it's good for young people.
Yeah.
It has a shocking amount of heart.
It does.
That's the thing that kind of blew my mind, is because I feel like it's famous for being, well, a cult classic and very funny and oh, Toby, fuck off, and like all the little things. But it's actually just a good movie.
Well, it is. And it also, you know.
And simple. And
it's very simple. And it like is sort of introduced as this like two friends from high school are going to go back to their reunion and show everybody what they've become. But it actually just turns into this sort of like great movie about this really lovely friendship between these two women. And I think that's what makes it resonate so much, is like, yes, all of the side characters, and there are so many like fully developed side characters, they're all great, but like it's called Romy and Michele's high school reunion for a reason. And it's about them and their like coming to grips with parts of their friendship that they have never really explored before. And it's simple, but it's deeper than it seems like, and it's not really about what it looks like on the surface.
And it transcends. Like, it's not quite as dated as I was afraid it was going to be. No. There's two dicey gay jokes. And you know what's so funny is actually this is a bit of a tangent, but I'll go on it now. If there's any storytellers out there in the audience, when telling a story with the purpose of having it last, I think you need to consider the implications of your joke.
Sure.
Because the first one is Romy says, even the thought of having sex with another woman creeps me out.
Mm.
And it's like, you could say that, and it's mostly fine because she's doing it like personally, but it made me think of when I was working on Fairy Tale and I had a joke with Celine where I like
buy it on Amazon. There's a link on our website.
I referred to her as being like bored, but like a poor person bored.
Oh, yeah.
And you were like, I don't think you should do that. Yeah. And I was like, why? It's low hanging fruit. To me, I was like, it's an easy joke. Like, whatever, go for it. Like... And you were like, it's the implications. Yeah. And the thing is, in 2013, that felt like nothing to me.
Sure.
In 2020, it feels a little bit harder. And it's like, it's saying something about a character where it's like, Celine is many things, but she's not cruel.
For the sake of it.
Yeah. And certainly not.
She's cruel with a point.
Well, and within even, like within her circle, she can and will be, but she's not abused the help.
Right.
Like, and so it just really, I remember not agreeing with you at the time, but being like, whatever, it's not.
That's not what the hill you wanted to die on,
And now I'm like, that was just actually so good because it's not funny.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a clever observation, you know what I mean? And so I think when you're telling jokes and stuff like this, like I said, that was a weird tangent, but I remember thinking
I get it. And especially, I mean,
if you're undercutting someone, even if they're not like
she wasn't undercutting a specific woman. She wasn't like,
well, it's the fact that she was like, even the thought of sleep, like almost like she would find lesbians creepy.
Sure. It's the word creepy. I think that's bad.
The other one is just that the two guys in drama like each other and they play the YMCA.
Some things are a stereotype for a reason.
So it became a favorite of the families. Like it's one of the few movies that my brother and I agreed on. We would watch it all the time. If there is a movie, if ever there were a movie I have seen 100 times, it is this movie.
I want to say, I was going to say, I want to say me too, because we used to watch it whenever I would stay over, like a lot. We watched it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I think probably, but it has been like easily 10 plus years since I watched it.
Well, I kind of put it away. Yeah. I kind of was like, I'm going to let this, put it in the vault.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a delight to pull it back out and find out that so much of it.
Oh, it holds up. Like almost top to bottom, it holds up.
It's also weirdly, because we mentioned it's kind of a wafer thin plot, but it's more inventively directed than I've ever noticed. There's a handful of shots in this that's like that opening shot.
Yeah. Oh, it's like a crane shot almost.
Over the ocean. Yeah. Through the window into the apartment.
Yeah.
And I was just sort of like, they didn't have drones in 1996, did they?
I don't think so.
Is it a helicopter and then I don't know how they did it.
It's good
because I didn't see a cut.
Yeah.
There might be one
probably as it goes through the window.
Yeah, but the curtain, I don't know. It was interesting, and all the times that like transitioning from the flickering disco lights into the light bulb, and the zooming in and out of the yearbook, and that's another thing that this world it builds such an epic world. And these people, it's such a high school thing that when you talk about people from high school where you use the first and last name.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
Casey Deegan.
Even leaving aside the fact that we had like 14 Megans and 11 Kristens, you still have to be like, oh my God, yeah, that guy. But you have to say both names, because we also had like 3 Zachs. And it's just
like I said, it is like mythology. You're talking about these people. And
it's too bad I don't have my yearbooks in here.
They're in there.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Because there are flashbacks to them in high school where they play themselves mercifully.
They all do. It's hilarious. And this is the type of movie. This is the type of movie where you can't have child actors, because it's the performances of these people are the point.
Lisa Kudrow singing, "Oh, the Wells Fargo wagon is a coming down the street."
I love the Music Man.
I love the Music Man. She just is so excited about it too.
Oh God. So, do you want to talk about the A Squad?
The A group. They're groups, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Is it? I don't remember now.
It's Squad.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't think it is. Whatever. Yes. Let's talk about the A team. Regardless, Christie Masters.
Julia Campbell is so good in
oh
this
my
movie.
God.
And it's the kind of role that I feel like, because she's horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. I feel
it's terrible.
I'm Christy Masters-Christensen.
Every time you think you've seen the worst of it, she gets worse.
Yeah.
And we're jumping around a little bit, but so the middle of this movie, in case you don't know, is a dream sequence.
Yeah.
And the first time I watched it at 12 years old, I didn't notice.
No, me neither.
I'm curious at what point I would have caught on, because it does gradually build.
It gets zanier.
However, it's not exactly out of place in this movie, the zaniness. But the ones, we'll get to the dream sequence in a minute, but the thing that I find so funny, so funny, is that, first of all, at the reunion in the dream sequence, they're in the Christie Masters ballroom.
Yeah.
And there are giant portraits of her.
Just her. Yeah.
And they're different pictures. Yeah. It's not just one picture.
It's like she had a photo shoot at Sears, like a glamour shot shoot at Sears.
And it's just, it's so interesting to take this premise of going to a high school reunion, which also, I mean, that's a relic too, because it's like, that's not really a thing anymore with social media. And
we've would have had like 2 if we did a 15-year one by now.
Don't usually.
But yeah, I haven't been to any.
We attempted a 10-year and it didn't go well.
And I have 2 high schools to choose from too.
It got hijacked and it turned into this whole thing.
What am I going to do with my kids? Leave them
leave them
at home.
A girl from another who didn't even graduate with us, who was a professional party planner, was doing favors for us, and she was like booking a nightclub for 3 hours and all this stuff. And then people were like, "What about my kids?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I didn't have kids, so I could go to this party." Yeah. So anyways, regardless, I like that it plays out the scenario of what you think it's going to be like to go to a high school reunion, and then the actuality of it and the pros and cons of both.
Yeah.
Because in the first one, the A group is like...
They're successful.
But it's like everything that they wanted to be in high school.
Yeah.
And then in the reality of it, that they're all just pregnant and... We're coming out really hot out of the gate as anti-kids, anti-pregnancy.
Look, okay, no.
That's not what we mean.
Kids are lovely.
Not for us.
If you want kids, have kids. Kids are not for me. And it's also, I think it's important to note that it's like, where Romy is like, "Oh God, you must feel so tied down." And she's like, "I'm very fulfilled," but you can tell that she's not.
The performances for what this is, for such a silly, like, no stakes comedy.
Yeah.
These are actually just fantastic.
I'm going on the record right now. I don't care what you think. Mira Sorvino deserved a second Oscar for this movie.
Someone else said that?
100%.
I read that somewhere.
I just tweeted it 2 days ago. I will go down with this ship. This performance, Romy White, is a like once in a lifetime performance.
Why? Do you have an elaboration? Or I mean, I'm not gonna fight it.
Almost every delivery of everything she does is like, if even starting from the very beginning, where she's just monotone calling out the number of the car.
243.
243.
243.
And she's just like, Ramon. And then
this is why I know the term jerking off.
Yeah.
Quit jerking off and bring the car out.
And so then it's like, it goes from that, and then Janeane Garofalo shows up, and they have this like really fun exchange. But then as soon as Janeane Garofalo leaves, the next lady comes up, and she's like, hold on. And then she just calls Michele and starts talking for everything she does. There is a throwaway joke where she's trying to pick up guys in a bar, and the guy is like kind of weird, and she's like, excuse me.
No, he's a suit salesman.
A suit salesman, that's right. And he's just weird. And she's like, excuse me, I cut my foot before, and now my shoe is filling up with blood. And then she just limps away. It's
the
hilarious.
clubfoot limp that is just
hilarious.
Because
and it's top to bottom, her performance is just...
Because Michele is just daffy. Michelle's just in the clouds.
It's classic Lisa Kudrow.
But there's a lucidity to Romy where she's got one foot on the ground.
Yes.
And it's learning to navigate that. Because there's even the scene at the end where Michele was like, I didn't know our lives weren't good enough until you told me they weren't.
Yeah.
And that's kind of devastating in its own right.
Yeah, for sure. There's even when she gets the car from Ramon, and Michele is like, oh my God, how'd you do this? And she's like, oh, I just had to blow all the guys in the service department. And Michele is
gave
like,
them all hand jobs.
Her hand jobs.
Michelle's
like, oh, well, cool. While you were doing that. And she's like,
Michele,
do you think that I'm the type of person who would do that for a car? And she also, I know that...
And Michele just kind of is like,
I know that Mira Sorvino has a little bit of a unique voice, like speaking voice.
It's like Mighty Aphrodite, where
but she puts it on for. She's just like, oh my God, and she just really puts it on.
The suit salesman guy, where she was like, "Is that an Armani?" I thought so. And she's really like, she goes in and out of the like throaty Valley girl.
So I've only known one person from Tucson, and it's my cousin, and he does not talk this way. So I don't know if this is a Tucson specific accent.
I thought of it more as an LA thing.
But it does feel like an LA thing. I don't know. It's just very funny. The way that she says,
I cut my foot before and my shoe is filling up with blood.
It lives rent-free in my mind, her intonation of that. It's just hilarious.
Speaking of rent-free, the like choreographed dance they do in the beginning in the club, which... Only on this viewing was I always just thought of that as a funny little like thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that it was establishing the end.
Oh, that they have this like routine.
It's not out of the norm for them to just break out into a dance routine. It's so weird. It's so weird. It's just so silly. And I want to know where, because it was based on a play called Ladies' Room. And I don't know if I just made this up or if I read it somewhere ages ago. But I think it all took place in the bathroom of like a ladies' room, like them coming in and talking about stuff that was happening. Yeah. So I'm not entirely sure how that got to here.
Maybe it was the ladies' room at the reunion.
I think it was a nightclub.
A nightclub. Okay,
I don't know. I'm always curious when people, because we just recently watched Yes, God, Yes, which was adapted from a short. And it's always so curious to see what people are going to do, how they're going to flesh out premises that are so contained.
Sure.
Oh, we mentioned Janeane Garofalo.
Heather Mooney.
It's pretty typical Janeane Garofalo.
It is.
But it is a stroke of genius to put it up against
these
Mira
like
Sorvino
sunny,
and Lisa Kudrow.
Yeah, these sunny, bright women.
And I love how absolutely on the razor's edge Heather is in both ways.
Okay, I considered doing a different style today, and I was gonna just line my eyes really thick with eyeliner.
But she's on two different razor's edges, though. Between like homicidal and suicidal.
Okay.
Her delivery of we did not have a thing. We did not have a thing. And she turns around to the woman behind.
We were very much in love.
There's a difference.
There's a difference.
There's a difference. There's a difference.
And she's just...
I have to go now.
And with her cigarette, and she's just always like kind of shaky.
Which feels like a thing.
The fast burning paper.
She was like, you invented that cigarette, the Lady Fair cigarette or something, twice the taste and half the time for the gal on the go.
Yeah, it's very good. You're right. She has this manic energy in this movie. And there's, speaking again of things that live rent free in my mind, when they're announcing the superlatives at the end of the reunion, and she's just letting the beer spill out of her mouth.
It's the football player or something. He's like in his 4th year as a Dallas Cowboy, and she's like, blah, 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 blah.
And the beer is just like, it's so good. Her whole. And then, because that's one of the parts.
I always loved when Romy, when she's like, I didn't know you lived in LA. And she's like, well, now that you do, will we be getting together?
One of the things I think that I like the best, that's the most realistic, is that she has this in her mind that she is in love with Sandy Frank, and she has been since high school, and no one will ever live up to him. And that's the end all be all. And then she sees him as an adult, and she's like, ugh. That just feels so real.
Also, Justin Theroux
as Clarence the cowboy.
Oh boy.
You're right. We don't talk about that enough.
And his little, I'm about to be so problematic. His stutter.
He was like, what did he say? He was like, plus I had a real bad stutter.
Uh-huh. And I forget what I know you always tell me to go fuck my mom or my sister.
My sister or a sheep. A sheep or my sister.
And he was like, but I did. And she was like, why couldn't catch him? To be that sharp, just to be that.
It's very, very good. And he does look excellent in the clothes cute. And the hat and everything. Because you barely see his whole face. Yeah. But it is a very 1997 Justin Theroux.
So I want to give, it's not an honorable mention. I am going to go as far as to say a VIP to Elaine Hendricks.
Oh, yes.
I think Lisa Luter is one of the most interesting characters in this movie.
And weirdly...
And the impulse to give her that.
Yeah, because I was going to say, weirdly, for the 90s, this is a very generous a generous character for Elaine Hendricks to play, because she is famously the stepmom from The Parent Trap with Lindsay Lohan.
She's one of the mean girls.
Yeah.
But they do establish that she has a mind of her own.
Yeah.
And
that she's a little bit... She admires Romy and Michele a little, even in high school.
And the fact that she apparently grows out of it. She becomes an associate fashion editor at Vogue magazine.
Wow! What good job!
And her, because that's...
Romy, wow, what a good job!
Because her outfit at the end, that white pantsuit and her hair and the dark lip and everything... Oh my God.
And she's not a completely different person.
No.
It's not a fairy godmother sort of moment. She's still kind of a raging bitch.
Yeah.
But the fact that
it's productive. It's constructive in a way.
It's so good. And the just the use of the words, especially, and we're getting here, so we'll get here. But that scene at the end, the telling off scene, but even everything around it, where the fact that Lisa's like, actually, Christy, they're not bad.
Yeah.
All in all, I'd have to say they're really not bad.
She doesn't come in and she's like, they're amazing.
Yeah,
like, I'm going to put you on the cut, like, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And Christy's like, well, we think they're hideous.
Yeah. And because one of the other mean girls is
Kristen Bauer
Van Straten. Yeah.
From True Blood.
Yeah.
So, the tell-off scene.
Okay.
It is life-changing.
It is. But it's so simple.
There are points where I'm like, I'm alive today because of this.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, this gave me what I needed to get by.
At the moment.
At a point when I needed it. And I broke it down. I wrote it down, and I broke it down. It's basically like 5 beats.
Yeah.
They storm in, and she goes,
in their amazing outfits.
Amazing. And the hair, it's so good.
Oh my God. Mira Sorvino's hair, where it just looks like she got mousse and went...
Yep. And what the hell is your problem, Christy?
Yeah.
So immediately they seize control, power, and the use of the word, what the hell is your problem?
Yeah.
It's harsh, but it's attention grabbing.
Yeah.
It's not
fuck. What the fuck is your problem?
There's 2 swears.
Yeah.
There's 2 swears in this, and that is the right amount.
Yeah, correct.
She follows that up with, why are you always such a nasty bitch?
So there's 3 swears.
No.
If you're considering hell.
Oh, okay.
Sort of.
Yeah.
I mean,
wasn't, but
it's nothing. But.
Why are you always such a nasty bitch? So she's asked a question.
Yeah.
So Christy can't walk away.
Right.
Christy has to respond.
Yeah.
And the combination of the words nasty and bitch, because again, if she came in too hot, if she came in just cussing her out, it sort of voids any point you're making, and it certainly surrenders any high ground.
It's like the thing that we talked about a little with Promising Young Woman, where it's like, if you're the one to start with violence, you're the one that it's at more risk. And so if she were to come in at 11, but she comes in at like a 6.
And the use of the word nasty.
Because if you just say bitch, that's too just commenting on like a female thing, but it's like a nasty bitch. That means like something about your person is
corrupt.
Offensive. Yeah.
Offensive. It's such a good, and the way, because it's also filmed and edited really sharply, because the way that hits like a shockwave.
Yeah. Because Christy does, and everybody around, because it does get into like a cafeteria fight, essentially, where like the rest of the reunion is like in a circle around them.
So then we get to the bulk of it, which this is nothing. This is sort of just her explaining herself.
Expository.
This is her case, her pleading her case to the crowd. And she says, I mean, okay, so Michele and I did make up a stupid lie. They acknowledge it was stupid.
Yep.
They acknowledge they made it up.
Yep.
She said, we only did it because we wanted you to treat us like human beings. The human beings always sat weird to me, but I do think that it is sort of, it's a reminder that it's like, you can't even respect me
as a human person.
Human.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They always treated them like they were lesser. And the only crime that Romy and Michele had is that they were kind of quirky and like sat by themselves.
They were weird. They didn't bother anybody.
No. And like Romy was a little chubby and Michele had a back brace. Are those the weirdest things that exist? Absolutely not.
And what a bitch eating your hamburger like that. What was that about?
Can I have the rest of this?
Good.
The way Julia Campbell's just like, are you done?
And oh my God, it's so horrible. And Romy is like,
she loves Hamburger Day.
They remembered it exactly as it happened, like playing like a movie in their head.
And she goes, but you know what I realized? I don't care if you like us because we don't like you.
Yeah.
She now has the power 3 ways over. 4 if you want to consider the fact that she's made herself openly vulnerable in front of everybody.
100%. And there, in this sort of scenario, there's no way that everyone else isn't on her side. She is the underdog in this situation. And given all of their past dynamics, Romy is the underdog.
And they are in lame, shiny pink and blue. And then she says, you're a bad person with an ugly heart. Never underestimate actually just, I'll go with criticizing. Never underestimate actually just sort of being like, I tell adults this all the time when I'm giving advice. It's like, have you ever said you hurt my feelings?
Yeah.
If you're fighting with somebody and you realize that's the issue, say that. It'll take them aback.
It will.
Because they'll kind of be like, and the instinct is to be like, what are you, a preschooler? Like, what are you, a kid? And it's like, no.
You hurt my feelings.
And to be, again, it's such a power move to actually say how you feel and not dance around it.
Yeah.
But to call someone bad is one thing. To say someone has an ugly heart, because then on top of that, ugly is a visual cue.
Yeah. Well, and especially for somebody like Christy, who's they're drinking color-coded cocktails through the whole thing too. So she's got this like dark purple bottle. It's like a Canadian crystal or whatever the Canadian clear. There was like that sparkling water. There was one, and it's basically a bottle of that, but it's like this dark blue bottle that like perfectly corresponds with her like lavender colored dress. I mean, ugly is.
But to not even criticize her appearance.
No.
Because
an ugly
Christy
heart.
could fight back to that.
Yeah.
Christy could do that. And then we come in with and we don't give a flying fuck what you think.
Yeah.
And it's not fuck you, flying fuck. There's whimsy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's whimsy to what she's saying. And you don't come back from that.
No.
Because it's like, it's weirdly like a Dane Cook bit, a similar thing where he's like, what do you say to the, whatever, Gaylord? Like, there's just there's no trump to that.
Yeah.
And
because what is she going to be like? No, I don't. And it's like, you do though.
I don't care what you think. Like, there's just no way to come back from
response.
It. And so that's then when Lisa Luter steps in and.
Oh, because
well, we think they're hideous, right, girls?
Yeah.
And Lisa's like, why don't you let them think for themselves for once?
And then they don't say say anything. And
they give up on her so quickly.
And I think honestly, aside from the speech, the most powerful moment of that scene is after they walk away and people just start walking through the three of them, like in between the three of them, because they're no longer a unit. And it's fascinating because the whole time they've been presenting this like
united
front of three women, and it just at that point they are no longer united,
which is like sirens, and they have no graces. Like it's such a mythical thing,
and they have no power anymore at that point, and so people are just like straight through them. It's hysterical. It's very good.
It's so good. Man. So then they do a dance, which I mean, it's iconic. I love it. All that. You can kind of leave it. The movie doesn't really need it.
It doesn't, but it's like, I mean, I think Alan Cumming is obviously really important to that scene. The fact that it's the three of them.
I love the notion that it's like, I'm very passionate about people, especially women, but people are not prizes to be won.
Sure.
I'm very passionate about that. And we are close to that here. Where, and then superficially on Michelle's side, that, suddenly now that he's wealthy, she's interested in him. We flirt with a couple of these things, but based on, again, the performances, it doesn't come off that way. Well, and it's also left so open-ended.
And it also feels more like it's not that she's attracted to him because he's wealthy now. It's that he's become successful, and so he has this level of confidence that he didn't have in high school when he was just like a weird dude.
And furthermore, I mean, if you want to look at it in a slightly superficial way, he didn't have anything to offer her in high school.
Right.
He has things to offer her now.
Yeah.
And beyond monetary, like he has an edge. And again, it's open-ended. The implication is you can go anywhere in your mind. You can go that they got married and lived happily ever after.
Yeah.
You can go that they're currently dating. You can go they went on one date and it was terrible.
Sure.
But he loans them the money to open the shop because she talks about paying him back.
Yeah. I think the dance scene is sort of, I guess it's not necessary to the story, but I think it's necessary to the movie.
Sure.
And it is that moment where, you know, he asks Michelle to dance and she says, only if Romy can dance with us. And he's also just like, sure, cool. And
he's fine with it.
You can't discount how incredible it is being set to Time After Time by Cyndi Lauper. It's just
the
amazing.
Soundtrack in this movie. There are so many just phenomenal needle drops.
Yeah.
Venus. I think that song was written for this movie. Like it was written in the 80s, but they knew on some level.
Well, and even it's, you know, Footloose at the beginning. There's Venus. There's Time After Time. And then my favorite is as they're leaving, Heaven is a Place on Earth by Belinda Carlisle is playing. And wow. I mean, that's amazing. That one's great. It's just like, because it makes it feel like what you think these events are going to feel like. Because you build up events like this in your mind and you're like, oh, it's going to be magical and amazing. And, you know, sort of like you build up the prom, you know, where you're just like, this is going to be the most magical night ever. And then it's like, well, it's just a school dance, just like all the rest of them were. And it's nothing. And then to have that song playing, which does have this sort of like magical, like wispy feeling, I really think it's perfect as the end, as the like capper on that. Plus all the things that they're like, you know, Christy's like dress flying up, you see her silly flowered underwear, and then like Heather's making out with Clarence the cowboy and the sagebrush, and it's very funny.
We didn't mention Billy Christensen, which I mean,
his name is Vincent something.
In the way that that's presented, I would not follow through with it.
No.
But in another version, of course, I'd still fuck him at the reunion.
In the dream version, like the dream scenario.
No, I would sleep with Christy's husband.
Oh, I mean,
in a different scenario,
without the beer gut and the like vomiting everywhere.
Without the vomiting, the beer gut's fine. He's cute. I like Fun Bobby.
But he is Fun Bobby. That's right. Yeah.
Him playing football at the beginning with those shorts. It's so 80s. He looks like
so like
that
shiny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But he's so slimy. I did want to say, as we mentioned, this is our second recording.
Yeah.
So if this comes out of nowhere, it's because I'm trying to recreate something. But they get into a big fight in the middle of this.
Yeah. It's on par. For me, it's on par with the "you're a virgin who can't drive." It's very in that vein.
Well, I was going to say I think that I have relatively healthy relationships. I have different types of friendships and relationships. And the thing to a true, tried and true, significant other, best friendship thing is you cannot be competing with each other.
Sure.
It's not unlike an actual romantic relationship. There has to come a point where you care more about the relationship itself
Then who's winning.
Yeah, than your individual stakes. And so this whole thing about the who's the Mary and who's the Rhoda, that's just that you just can't play that game, because when we were talking about it before, you didn't realize that Rhoda was on Mary Tyler Moore.
Well, I did. I mean, I knew that they were on the show together. I didn't. What it meant to me is that, like, one of them, like, I'm prettier than you. I thought it was, like, superficial. I didn't realize it was like a you're my sidekick. And that's what makes it kind of icky.
It's both. Yeah. I mean, it's both, but
because my point that I was making is, it's like, you know which of your friends is better looking than you, and you just don't talk about it. You just are not, and you're not like, if you're the prettiest one in the friendship, you don't talk about it.
The others know it. You don't need to tell them.
Yeah, and you're allowed to say, I think you're prettier than me, but you're not allowed to say, I know I'm prettier than you. That's not okay.
In my experience, for a friendship to actually last, you can't be competing for the same role.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be trying to do the same thing.
Right.
Which I don't think Romy and Michele are.
No.
They play two different things. And it's something that has really gone into my best friendships, is that I'm not in direct competition with any of, because you were saying that, like, when we compare ourselves to other types, it's like,
sure.
Trixie and Katya.
Yeah.
You were like, I'm way more Trixie and you're way more Katya in your vibe. And
I'm Romy, right?
Yeah.
And
I'm Michele.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like,
well, I said it can't be a Mary and Rhoda. I said it needs to be more of a Paris and Nicole.
Sure.
Where it's like each one's doing their own thing, but they are parallels.
Well, you also it's like the type of thing where you have to get to a point where you're self-aware, because the self-awareness is, it's like, you can sit there and think, well, maybe I am better than this person, but it's like, you're not better at them than everything. There's always something someone else is better than you at.
So I was glancing at my notes and I wrote down Alan Cumming's line reading of, I have boxes of Kleenex in the car.
Come. I have boxes of Kleenex in my limo.
His emphasis on the word boxes of Kleenex in the car.
The line readings in this movie are so good.
The dream sequence, it does gradually get kookier and
He
kookier.
looks like Sean Penn melted in a wax factory in the dream sequence.
Well, and her getting hit by the limo.
Ow! Oh! Ow! 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 Oh! Oh! Come on.
That's one of the hardest I have ever laughed at anything myself. And the way they filmed, because they have her, she's harnessed, and they hoist her up in the air.
And then she's like, glunk, glunk, glunk.
And she falls off and she knocks that little antenna off. And the way that she's more so put out.
She's just annoyed.
She's more so exasperated than she is injured.
Yeah. She's like, I guess I'm fine. And she's just like brushing stuff off herself.
And then why can Cameron Manheim fly? It's just like,
come on, guys. Cameron Manheim in this movie too. There's so many tertiary characters, because there's a character who is so inconsequential, except for that she sort of brings their plan to a screeching halt. But they stop for food on the way to Tucson, and there is this waitress at this restaurant, and they have changed into their businesswoman clothes, which, by the way, are really
amazing,
really sexy skirt suits. They've changed into their businesswoman clothes, and they are laying it on so thick. They're like, do you have any kind of businesswoman special? Because we're two businesswomen, and we're like on business. And the waitress is just like, it's this little old lady. She's so cute.
Straight out of the Emperor's New Groove.
Straight out of the Emperor's New Groove. And she just looks at them and is like,
what kind of business you in?
And the way she does it is so good.
Well, and for me, it's the fact that the camera just lingers on them.
On the two of them
staring,
being like, oh.
And then Lisa Kudrow just goes,
yeah. She's just like, well, what are we going to do, Romy?
She just turns to Romy to be like, help me out here.
Yeah,
like,
what kind of business we in? It's so good. So good.
Oh, man. Oh, I did write A group, so you must be right. It's usually the case, except for when it's not.
Except for when it's super duper not.
Oh, when Romy is trying to find them boyfriends and she cuts the line at singled out.
Oh.
And the woman goes, our cutoff is 25.
Yeah.
Try VH1.
Yeah. Fuck off.
Gray hairs. Around it. I heard them. My brother went, oof.
Yeah. We are
when
10,
you consider
we're
watching
10
this
years too old for that
13,
now. Yeah.
and it's like, just the try VH1.
Well, they also are only 28. They're only supposed to be 28, 27, 28, but it is very funny.
Yeah. If you've never seen Romy and Michele's High School Reunion, watch it.
Definitely.
Your mileage will most likely vary. If you have never seen this before and you watched it for the first time, you're probably going to be like, it's fine.
If we've got any Gen Z people following us, I'm not sure how it'll hit.
I think Gen Z would like it.
Maybe.
I think Gen Z would like it.
Okay, all right. I'll allow it. I'm just, the thing for me is because it's like so removed. Like, I remember living at this time.
But I think the heart.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
The moral, the heart, and all that.
Yeah.
And
let us know.
With many things like this, and for us, yes, it is partially nostalgia, but also it's repeat viewings.
Yeah.
A lot of times comedy, when it has time to sort of resonate.
This also is one of those type of movies that I think you notice more stuff the more you watch it, to a point. I think there is a point, not necessarily diminishing returns, but there is a point where you have seen all of it.
I love it. I'm putting it back on my favorite movies list.
Yeah.
So
it never left mine.
I had to try and please straight boys at film school for a while, so
that's fair. They are the worst. They are the worst. We watched this on your Vudu. Is this, I don't think it's streaming anywhere, but I think you could probably rent it on Amazon. So yeah, I definitely check it out if you haven't seen it before, or if you have, just give it another whirl. It's amazing. You can follow us on Twitter @SoI'mWatching or Instagram @SoI'mWatchingThisShow. You can also follow along on our website, soimwatching.com, which links out to everything, including our Patreon and the YouTube, which we would love some subscriptions on. We are gaining some traction, which is awesome. So if you like us, head on over there and help us out. You can watch our beautiful faces if you're only listening. But not that beautiful face. That was a bad face. And then other than that, just rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And that's it for us.